Hmm. I am live. All right. Go here. Hello, beautiful souls. This is Katerina Satori, and we are just beginning. So it's so good to be with you. And so beautiful. Of course, checking your comments on my phone. That's right. Hi, you guys. My heart has been longing to connect with you. And I was allowing the flow to reveal when it's time. Last night, I almost went live and my body said, nope, you get to recover and rest. So today it felt, this is the moment. You guys have learned to trust, really learn to trust when the transmission is asking me to go live and when it's time to just be in my process. And every time I reemerge with new insights, and what do? I want to share them with you because ultimately, you guys, we are in this together, right? We're in this brave human journey together. And I see so many beautiful souls. We're just beginning, you guys. We're literally 30 seconds in. So you're at the perfect time. You're always at the perfect time. I'm going to let people join maybe for 30 seconds. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling right now. Choose one word to describe how's your heart. Let me know. My heart, if I would describe, my heart feels at peace. My heart feels really connected right now. And I love bringing you this energy, this frequency, right? The words, the body language, it's the frequency that matters the most. I prepared a little bit of notes to stay on track. But once again, you guys, once we start the conversation, we're just going to be together. Crystal says, my heart is expanding. I really feel that. Really feel that. Yes, darlings. Sandy says, softening and trust. Ooh, I love that, Sandy. Yeah, one of my favorite teachers, Richard Rudd, the author of the Gene Keys, he said a whole process of awakening is a sequence of softening the edges around our heart. Isn't it a beautiful way to describe enlightenment? I feel it's so profound. Every time you soften your heart, you took another leap towards self-realization, right? Hi, beloved. Look at you. Oh, okay. So Tiffany says, defeated, honestly. I was feeling so good. I desire to be back into expansion. I love your honesty, Tiffany. I will speak to that. Love the honesty. One of the things that I've learned from my dear friend, Yvonne de la Flor, is that sacred principle, everything has a right to exist. So this feeling of being defeated, it has a right to exist. It's like this prima material, the raw compost for your garden of your soul. That something is alchemizing there. And Karen says, renewed innocence. Ooh, I love that. Renewed innocence. Oh, welcome, beloveds. We're just starting. You're like in such a perfect time. We're just starting, you guys. And I wanted to share with you, this one understanding on trusting the process of life completely and how I work with this understanding, the embodiment of this truth, and how it literally, you guys, liberated my consciousness, brought me a true psychological freedom, and I continue to share this message because there's this quantum leap of consciousness happens when you begin to trust your life, to trust where it's taking you, to trust how it's taking you, to trust how it's leading you, and everything that comes with the process of life. So everything is sacred. The first time I was guided to understanding and seeing life as sacred is through the studies of teachings of Tantra. Tantra as a way of life, as a philosophy of life. And Tantra, you guys, as a philosophy, it's all about totality of experience. The moment we sign up for this courageous human journey, we sign up for all of it, right? It's totality of experience. And when we are in the spirit world, when we are in invisible form, when we discard the body, we are returning to the natural state of oneness. We merge with one ocean of spirit. But the moment we decide to go back at the planet Earth and take another human suit, we incarnate into the body. And when we take the body, we take on the experience of separation. It's temporarily, right, you guys? It's temporarily. It's only for one lifetime, and then we go back to the ocean of consciousness. But in our entire life, we carry this deep, deep wound. It's called a human wound. It's a wound of separation between us and life experience. And our journey to coming back to unity within our soul is our journey to realizing that we can restore the wholeness with life. So you guys, for me, it was a sequence of steps, a sequence of steps. It wasn't like overnight I woke up and I decided to trust life completely. Oh, no, 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 no. There were years where I would fight life. I would be mad at life. I would see the injustice in the world. I would see, the genetic line that I was born into, my circumstances. And I was just angry how unfair things were, right? And then through my journey, through the journey of a sequence of awakening, because awakening, it's not a one event, it's our steps of awakening. I was guided to, my eyes would be open through one experience to another experience to another experience. And the first epiphany was, looking back at life, I realized that life has its own wisdom, the way it carries you. And if you look back at your own life, you will see that life has carried you until this moment. No matter what you were asked to go through, no matter what you had to survive, overcome, let go, experience, right? Rings of fire. Here you are in one piece. Here you are in one piece. So you begin to soften, with your experience of life. With wisdom comes softness. And for me, you guys, I also had this experience of a true Satori. My last name is Satori. It was given to me as a spiritual name 7 years ago. It's a very archetypal experience when you are given a spiritual name. Let me know, you guys, if any of you had an experience like that, where you stop feeling resonance with a name that was given to you at birth, or maybe was given to you through marriage. And it was happened right after, maybe 2 years after my divorce. I was married once, and I felt disconnect with the name. And I started inquiring, what would be the new name that symbolizes the new chapter of my life? And I heard Satori. And at that time, you guys, 7 years ago, I thought Satori was this, this experience of instant realization, like moment to moment epiphany, illumination of the mind. Well, little did I know, darlings, the power of naming. That's another principle that my ally, Yvonne de la Fleur, teaches. When you take a name, or a name is given to you, or you name anything, this process of naming invites a specific energy into your life. So I'm very, very mindful what I call any of my programs. For example, right now I have a program running, it's called Sovereign Mind, right, you guys? So to say yes to such name, it means to create an opening in my life and in my reality for that energy that represents sovereign mind come into my life. So the same thing with the name Satori, you know, it's a Japanese concept. Yes, like, see, I love your comments, you guys keep sharing. So it only took me 7 years to understand the power of the name that was given to me. And I would love to share with you the experience of Satori, which is ultimately, you guys, it's the ultimate trust in life. You know, and this name does not belong to me, it belongs to the world. You can have your own Satori experience. And when that occurs, if you invite that into your life unfolds in unimaginable beauty, in unimaginable harmony. So a few days ago, I was looking through documentaries. I'm like addicted to different conscious documentaries. There was one on Gaiam TV. There's a series of lectures by Alan Watts. And I really recommend you guys to listen to Alan Watts simply on YouTube, to listen to his talks. He was a really incredible speaker, incredible philosopher, incredible mystic. And he has his entire recording titled The Void, and he talks about Satori experience. And he said that in Zen Buddhism, Satori means a psychological freedom from a confused mind, where you have this profound realization that everything is okay in your life, not only in your life, but in entire universe. No matter what's happening outside, no matter the difficulty we experience, it's almost like you begin to see through this new sets of eyes. You see the perfection of this divine play of consciousness. And when I heard him speak this, you guys, I had this, whole body shivers, because I was slowly arriving to this realization. First by taking on the name of Satori, right? And then I was guided to the teachings of Byron Katie. And if you study anything with Byron Katie, loving what is her main principle. Her teachings are so simple, but so profound, they reach your soul to the core. When she says, when you argue with what's happening in front of you, you lose. When you open your eye, when you open your heart and you say, if it's happening, it has a right to exist. It has a meaning. It has a purpose. It has its blessing. So when Tiffany was sharing about feeling defeated, and I said, this is a holy experience. It's a rich compost to the garden of your soul. Darlings, it took me so long to embrace my low moments, to embrace the funk, to embrace the confusion, to embrace the uncertainty, to embrace when I don't feel like anything is good as coming out of my mouth, when it doesn't flow, and to see all of that as sacred. I love this understanding, darlings, that I'm going to bring to you. It's called mutation of consciousness. It is the most sacred experience that you can find yourself in. When you're going through a mutation of consciousness, some part of you is going through reorganizing, restructuring, and understanding of the world that served you to a point begins to dissolve. And a new understanding is on the way to you, and you are in the gap. The old you outlived, the new is on the way, and you are in the holy gap. And when it's the first time you're aware of the gap, and you guys, life brought you through this experience many, 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 many times, naturally. Maybe some of you, maybe me, maybe we begin to pay attention. Oh, I am in the gap. And then the gap is what I call the mutation of your consciousness. The gap, if it's your first time in being aware of the gap, another way to say it, the void, the emptiness, the big uncertainty, right? That is the most fertile place for mutation of your consciousness, for literally a reorganization of how you see the world, how you see yourself, how you see the sacred and the ordinary, right? So I often find myself in that gap, and I welcome, I call it divine melancholy. And the more creative you are, the more prone you are to that experience. I'm a highly creative being, you guys. Everything I do is creativity. So I got to embrace that the part of the highest creativity is the deepest melancholy that balances experience out. So when melancholy comes, I say, welcome, sacred guest. Welcome. Thank you for helping me mutate my consciousness. And how do you experience it in the practical terms, you guys? You may wake up one day and you feel defeated. You feel blah, you feel in the funk. Allow the feeling to exist. You're like, ooh, a new compost arrived for the garden of my soul. I'm gonna take that compost and I'm gonna allow it fertilize my life. You see, you guys, when we see the gold in everything we experience, life begins to open up in a completely new way. Oh, darlings, recently I got a speeding ticket. I wanted to tell you this story for a few weeks. I was like, when's going to be the moment when I tell you a story about my speeding ticket? It was so fascinating, darlings. So I'm driving to a conference, and I love sports car. I drive one, right? I have a Porsche. I love my car. I love the way it roams. I love the way it drives. And sometimes I get carried away and I don't turn on my cruise control. And I'm like, oops. And I'm going faster than the speed limit. Well, I get stopped, right? And I see the police car behind me, and I have enough time to send a prayer to my angels. And I'm like, angels, please let him just let me go with the warning, because, this is like my first ticket in years. The officer stops me. Such a handsome officer, you guys. One of the most handsome officers I've met. And he stops me and he says, are you aware how fast you're going? And I said, I'm so sorry. How fast was I going? He's like 89 on a 70. And you guys, I'm telling you the story because I'm observing this. And I'm totally present to an experience. I'm like, officer, I accept full responsibility for this choice. I apologize, lost track. I accept responsibility. So he goes, checks, my registration is current, everything is current. And I said, officer, if it's any value, I don't have any tickets on my record. This is going to be the first. He just looked at me and walked away. I send another prayer to my angels, but deep inside of me, I feel peace. Deep inside of me, I know I get to accept responsibility for my choice, right, you guys? So I get the responsibility for my choice, and I'm thinking something good is going to come out of this. There is wisdom in everything that arises. And if my attitude, I am accepting responsibility for my choice, a good fortune will come out of it. A good experience will come out of it. So he comes back and he says, here's your ticket, Katerina, be careful, you can go. I pull out, you guys, this is the comedy show. I pull out to the highway, and there's a big truck right in front of me passing, and on its wheel, on every single giant wheel, it says, those wheel floppers, the wheel covers, it says, I am. On each wheel, it says, I am. So as you guys know, I am is two of the most powerful words you can say. I am that I am. Everything in the universe communicates to you. Everything has a message if we have ears and eyes to see. I thought it was a profound experience of me taking full responsibility for my choice, not using my good looks to get out of the situation, pleading, begging, manipulating the person into my experience. Trust me, I've done it in the past many, many times. This time was different. And I said, I fully accept my experience. And boom, that track with I am statement just goes by. Well, the wisdom of that experience, you guys, is that, when I came home, I said, what's the wisdom of that experience? And the wisdom of that experience, I realized that my neighbor and a good friend, Tony Teagarden, is a representative for this legal service subscription that you can sign up and pay $26 a month, and you have a legal support. Like anything you need on legal side, it's called Legal Shield. So I go in, sign up for this service, and I'm like, there must be a reason for that. There must be a reason. And do you think I speed after this experience? Absolutely not. Drive was, according to the speed limit. So I trained my mind, I trained my eyes to see the good in everything that arises. Everything. It's a silly story of a speeding, but you guys, it's a human experience. I don't ever want you to think that I am, this perfect human being. Oh gosh, no. Gosh, no. But I am presence on the wheels of that truck. It was like a confirmation for me. It says, hey, even though I operate within the highest spiritual laws, I am still responsible to the physical laws of reality, right? And the test of my true spiritual maturity is how I respond to whatever arises to my reality. So really, really funny story, because I wanted to share that with you guys. So, I get speeding tickets too. Absolutely. Hopefully it's going to be my last one. But it's this beautiful dance with life. Whatever arises, you're stuck at the airport and there's delays and there's inconveniences. Can you recognize a sacred practice for patience, for equanimity, for compassion? And what unites us all is compassion. Compassion. So when you have those low days, you can really extend that compassion to yourself. How liberating it is to feel that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do this human experience perfectly. You can be messy. You can absolutely be messy. And you can find joy in the mess. You can find sacredness in the mess. So trusting everything, you guys, is a beautiful Satori experience. The more you trust life, the more life gives you reasons to trust it even deeper. And it's this beautiful, beautiful intimacy with life. You wake up every day, you say, I wonder what life will show me today. I wonder how life will demonstrate again that I can trust the flow of my experience. So this is the first one, and I brought you guys I brought you guys something. 1 second. I journal a lot. This is from Adyashanti. He's a beautiful writer. He's a Zen teacher, incredible teacher of consciousness. One of his books called Falling into Grace. Oh, it is so beautiful. He says, you realize that grace is what holds everything. Then you can allow yourself be held by grace. One paragraph about what happens when we begin to see life with true eyes. He says, when we see with our true eyes, all around us is divine. We were chasing for happiness, the end of sorrow, peace and freedom, God, enlightenment. And when we finally come to the deepest version of the reality, what we realize is that we never had to go anywhere. The divine is always present. When we look at the window, there is a tree, a garbage can, the grass, the flower, a human being. All of this is actually the face of God. All of this is the face of God. Look in the mirror. That's what God looks like today. Look out the window. That's your true self. That's your true nature being manifest at this moment. Wow. So when I had this Satori experience, my loves, it was a sequence of awakening. But one time I was sitting on my outside patio, a very ordinary evening. You know, the most extraordinary things tend to happen the most ordinary moments. I believe to surprise our awareness. I believe to get us enchanted with the ordinary life again. I was sitting on the patio. You know, every night I watch the sunset. It's my ritual of sitting on the patio. And I was literally just listening to the birds. And in the flash of a moment, everything dissolved. You know, that skin, the skin of my body that looks like it is separate from the screen behind me. Everything dissolved. And I literally, you guys, for the moment, all membranes of all reality shifted. And I could not find the definition between me and the tree and the ocean and behind me, in front of me. I totally merged with my experience. And it was only a few moments. But I had this experience of consciousness looking at itself through the instrument called Katerina. Had an experience of divinity looking through my eyes. And it altered me. You know, it altered me. And it was a momentary experience, but it altered me. And next day, I woke up remembering that sacred experience of dissolving any boundaries. And I began this practice that Adyashanti describes, seeing in everybody the face of God. Seeing in everybody the face of God. You cannot help but trust everything that arises in your experience. You know, that officer that gave me ticket, that was God giving me ticket. You know, that was the Great Spirit giving me a divine message, acting through this human vehicle. And you know, darlings, for some of you, you already live there, right? And some of you, you will remember. Because what we're doing, you guys, we are helping each other to remember. We're helping each other to remember. I remember going through a very trying period in my life for several years, you guys, where Great Spirit would put me in very challenging environment. And I'm very, very sensitive towards environment, like a lot of you, right, you guys? You're sensitive souls. And Spirit would put me through a boot camp. Put me through a very challenging environment where I had to see the polarity, you know, humans being really trapped in the Maya, right? Really trapped in the suffering of the experience. And I had to be there and develop compassionate heart. And I remember what carried me through that, you guys, is a practice of only seeing the highest aspect in everybody who would cross my path. And at times, it would come really naturally. And at times, it would be very difficult. And I'd continued with the practice. I was like, no matter who comes, what can I find in this person that is pure? And I would zoom in. I would imagine that I have this projector beam in my third eye. And I would look and look and look. And you guys, the alchemy would happen. The person would just transform in front of me. Their soul would respond to what I was willing to call out of them simply through my intention. It was a powerful experience. See for yourself. And the more challenging your external environment, whether it's at work, whether it's in the family, whether it's relatives, the more fertile is your opportunity to unlock that magic. You know, it could be your experiment that nobody needs to know but you. And on the opposite end, if you focus on what's negative about this person, see how fast that negative will pop. It will be like, poof, here it is, right? Both available. But one experience will open your heart. Another one will close your heart. And you know, you guys, if we're really honest, it's so tough to go through life with a closed heart. It's so heavy, right? And it's always, no matter what life brings you, you can go through it if your heart is willing to remain open. Just one moment at a time. So trusting everything, seeing everything as sacred, darlings, it revolutionized my life. It revolutionized my business, you know, because I would see, oh, something walking towards me, it's meant to be. You know, I trust whatever shows up in my experience. Oh, something disappears out of my reality. I trust that it's time to disappear. You know, there is no grasping, no clinging, no disappointment, no drama. Only celebration. Only celebration. Everything is sacred. And practice of letting go, darlings, every day, every night. I have this ritual of acknowledging how the day went, knowing that I did my best. I stayed in my heart. If I stayed in my heart, it's a day well lived. And every night I let go. I let go of the list of tasks that I think I should have accomplished. I let go of, you know, of anything. I just say, at the completion of this day, I choose to let go. And I choose to be in absolute peace with all things. And I allow mutation to occur. I allow mutation to occur. Mutation, you guys, is one of my favorite words right now. You know, because when I used to call it a funk, it was a different energy. You know, I see it as sacred mutation. Ooh, something is brewing in me. Something is alchemizing. Something new is going to evolve from this mutation. Or another word, digestion. This comes from, you know, my work with the gene keys. Oh, such a holy word, digestion. You know, where you receive a new insight, a new epiphany, your subtle bodies must digest that. And when you digest things, it appears like nothing is happening. But deep inside, your cells are working with such devotion to help you break down your experience, to help you assimilate. So the essence of wisdom can come up on the surface. And ultimately, darlings, the biggest Satori moment comes when you realize that you've never made a mistake in your life. Never. You know, whatever you think had this term mistake, it was your own way of accumulating wisdom through experience, through trial and error, right? Through throwing yourself into a moment. So that's a beautiful liberation where you just simply contemplate, wow, I was on accelerated wisdom wisdom path, right? And wisdom comes through experience, through a lot of trial and error. So this is my realization, darlings. Satori, an experience of Satori where you arrive to the place with absolute peace, absolute acceptance, absolute peace. I remember the time in my life where I was really unhappy in my environment. My environment was not nurturing. It was very harsh, And I remember praying and asking and visualizing and manifesting my dream environment. And I remember when I had this realization, the less I would be at peace with what my life was asking me to experience in the moment, the longer it took to manifest next chapter. You know what I mean? And the moment I start embracing everything, I was like, I'm going to embrace everything with open heart. Whatever I'm experiencing, it's good for me. It's appropriate for me. Boom, life began to move me to a next chapter at accelerated rate. And you guys, it happened not once, it happened several times. It's a beautiful, beautiful dance between calling in your next chapter with devotion, clarity, and passion, and fully embracing your now experience. And not judging it, not pushing it away, not repressing it, but loving it. One of my teachers taught me in the very beginning of my path, he says, Katerina, love your life. You don't have to like everything about your life. Nobody is asking you to like everything about your life. But learn to love it. And I believe, you guys, what he really meant is learn to open your heart to whatever arises in your experience. And when your heart closes, be compassionate. Oh, this is what happens when my heart closes. Can I find my way back? So, the beautiful gift of this sacred human experience is that consciousness can utilize anything for an insight, for a breakthrough, for an epiphany. And sometimes at those low moments, those funny human experiences, like getting a ticket for speeding, right? Or getting a tax bill, whatever the 3D moment is, we have the right attitude of welcoming it, looking for the wisdom, looking for the beauty. It's there, just one breath away. One breath away. Gustavo, hi. He says, thank you for speaking to the wave that I'm riding and present with. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Yeah, you guys, I spent so many years fighting the human experience, not wanting to be here, checking out through many different ways. And I finally checked in. I was like, whoa, it is supposed to be diverse. It is supposed to be all of that. And, you begin with the practice of opening your heart and welcoming it all. And you begin to see life has its own rhythm. Life has its own timing. Life has its own dance with you. And the more you're willing to see it, you wake up and you say, I wonder where life will take me today. What life will bring to my door. When I was in India, darlings, India has a special place on my heart. I'm looking forward to the day when I go back. When I was in India, I really got to experience what they have in the culture. In the culture, they say they see every guest that shows up in somebody's house. They literally see that every guest is God, right? So they treat you as, wow, you're a representation of the divine. And I really felt that there, I was invited to many, many homes to come and to be with them and to share the food with Indian family. And I felt that reverence. I felt that, that purity of hospitality, of how they saw me. They really saw God in the guest, right? And I was so touched by that, you guys. I came home and I practiced that. Like, can I see everybody who shows up in my life as the divine? I was not successful every time, So many times I would forget. So many times it would slip into forgetting. But it was like a compass where to go back to. And I realized, wow, if I hold that perspective, then I'm naturally more kind. I'm naturally more present. I'm naturally more compassionate. So it's not about doing it perfectly. It's knowing where to return. I love being with you. I love sharing with you this very human moments, darlings. And to see this unity of life in the healing of the mind that happens, the healing of the heart when we have that experience. How interconnected we are, how we all one, right, you guys, all one. Tiffany says, this is so good. Thank you for being human with us. You're welcome, honey. You're welcome. You guys, Spirit asking me to do a lot of things that are deeply vulnerable, where I'm being asked by Great Spirit to be a messenger for someone and to speak something, really strong. But what I'm finding, it's not about what I say, it's how I say it. So I always say, oh, this is an opportunity for deeper intimacy with another soul. And I cannot make a mistake. If I connect with my heart first, I trust whatever will come through. You guys, it changed everything. It changed how I show up on these transmissions. If I was in my head, oh, do you like what I say? Does it resonate? Am I transmitting it perfectly? What good of a channel I am. I get in my way, right? So even doing this transmission requires all my trust. All my trust. And this is the big, you guys, testament. Oh, how beautiful it is to relax into my body, to relax into my expression and just simply speak my heart. Knowing that there is value in trusting everything. I love you, darling, so much. Thank you for sharing this exquisite moment of being here and now. And my favorite declaration to say that if you can find the ground underneath your feet, and if you can feel the beating of your heart, I'm feeling the beating of my heart right now, then you have everything you require to meet the next moment with grace. And, I got to experience that when I was going through my surgery a month ago. Exactly a month right now, you guys. I remember I was like, just one moment, Katerina. You just go one moment. Do you have everything for next moment? Yeah, totally. Okay, then take next moment, next moment, and next moment. And then you look back, you're like, whoa, that was a very powerful experience to go through with so much peace, so much trust. I'm so grateful for you, darlings. So grateful. Trust your challenges. Trust your, especially your challenges. Challenges are given to you to bring out the best out of you. Every challenge that comes your way is given to you as a sacred opportunity, a sacred assignment. This is my core belief that challenges bring out the best out of me. And when I look back, it's always true. Always true. And And I really learned to welcome every challenge, to welcome every twist on the path. I'm like, every twist, a new adventure. Every challenge brings the best out of me. Every human moment, ah, gives me a great content for live streams. Right, you guys? Imagine if I didn't have any human moments, how boring would be my live streams. But I'm there with you guys. I'm there with you. And it doesn't matter how successful you become, how many trophies you collect, you are still living in the physical universe. And you're going to be meeting another challenge, another opportunity for growth. But if you know that everything that arises is sacred, then you begin to relax deeper, deeper, deeper into your experience. You begin to savor more. You guys, sometimes people say, oh, with every year that you grow older, life begins to go so fast. Have you heard that? I think I found realization. It only feels like that when we're not present. When we feel that life is escaping us like a sand between our fingers. The deeper is your presence to every experience, life begins to stretch. You look back on your day, you're like, this was a magnificent day, so rich in experience. I savored every moment. So take more pauses in your day. See the sacredness in everything that arises. See the beauty in the ordinary moments. And you begin to live longer. You begin to live more fully. You will find it in your own way, right? Oh, darlings, I have a book for you. When I do Soul Station live streams, I'd like to share with you my favorite books. I have so many books. And I continue to give them away, darlings. My favorite thing is to give away my books and then I get new ones. This one is called Letting Go by David Hawkins, The Pathway to Surrender. It's a beautiful body of work. I pretty much, anything David Hawkins writes, I buy. It is a genius work, but he really talks about how to work with, highly stressful emotional situations, how to let go, pretty much. He's like, gives you a process how to let go, but letting go is a choice, moment by moment. And choosing to let go of the knot in the stomach, choosing to let go of resentments, choosing to let go of mistrust to life, moment by moment. Oh, beloved souls, do you have any questions? How are you receiving this? Beautiful practice, amazing comments, darlings. We're sharing this, what we find. And I find that life becomes so graceful when I see grace. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to have difficulties. We are just more equipped to face them with a lot more grace, with a lot more confidence in the process of life. If you look back, what you went through, life always carried you. And when you arrive to this realization that you can deeply, deeply trust life, you begin to take bigger risks. You begin to trust your inspiration. You begin to trust those wild ideas that come to you. You take a leap, you take another leap, and you realize that you always land on your feet. When I watch my cat, Gracie, how she's so fearless. She jumps from such heights. There is no place in my house that she hasn't jumped from. And she always lands on her feet. And we can learn so much from animals. We used to be connected to animal consciousness, so deeper than we are right now. I love you guys. I'm going to close down this live stream. Marianne says, well, there's a beautiful question. She says, how to forgive after being betrayed? Marianne, yeah. You know, darling, don't rush your process. With forgiveness, it happens in layers. You know, it really happens in layers. There is forgiveness, and there is an ultimate is understanding. When you arrive to the place of understanding how this experience fits in the sacred geometry of your life, the need for forgiveness dissolves. So if there is this question for forgiveness, it means there is a layers of softening for you. And don't rush your process. You know, I feel forgiveness is a process, you guys. And then eventually, if you're willing to contemplate, well, where in this experience I have betrayed myself? Right? That's a bold question, because everything that shows up in our life is a mirror where we need to heal, maybe what we judge, maybe what we reject, right? So you just contemplate, darling, maybe journal, you know, and don't rush your process. If you're willing to keep your heart open, the main thing, if you find a way to let this experience to open your heart instead of shutting it down, that's the gem. That's the beauty of that experience. You know, that's the beauty of that experience. And then eventually you're like, whoa, I see the whole dance. I've never met a person who hasn't had an archetypal experience that looks like a betrayal. Archetypal experience, initiation of your consciousness to a bigger understanding of this interplay, right? Oh, darling Marian, I remember the moment where I felt deeply betrayed in my life. I never had experience of cheating or being cheated, so I never had that. But I had an experience where I would, watch my language, rescue somebody, right? The rescue archetype was a big one for me in the past, you guys. I would be the hero on the white horse, rescue somebody in the situation, and it looked like lending somebody money, and a lot of it. And that person would betray me and never keep his word and lie and literally, you know, you can just imagine what happened. And that happened 3 times. Not to me, for me. Number one, for me to see the rescue archetype and the high price of that, right? Number two, to really open my heart, you know, and I was, it took me some layers to forgive, darling. And it took me a big lesson on the high cost of interfering into somebody's lesson called rescuing, right? Interfering in somebody's lesson, rescuing them, and the karmic consequences that comes with it. You know, it just comes with discernment and wisdom, but, you know, forgave all of those 3 situations. I'm saying that was an investment into wisdom. Yeah. But you see, it's understanding. It's the higher perspective. It's not even the higher or lower perspective. It's simply a vantage point. You know, when you are on the top of the mountain, Marianne, you can see further, right? And when you're at the bottom of the mountain, you can see how high the mountain is. So every time we lift our consciousness to see further, we can see deeper. So it was a beautiful experience. And then, you know that you completely let go where you have reached the experience of neutrality. You have no charge. And if you feel there's still that situation still triggers you, good. Don't rush the process. Just go deeper. That's your rich compost for true liberation of your heart. And eventually you reach the point of neutrality. It doesn't trigger you at all. You're like, thank you. Now I'm free. So you're welcome. Marian says, thank you for helping me see it differently. Yeah, you're welcome, darling. And this is, this is how you learn to see behind the veil of the characters in this cosmic play. Well, you guys, we're all characters in the divine drama. We each have this role and the play that we play. We come to this reality for mastery, right? And the beautiful thing, darlings, this is the last thing I'll share and I'll close it down. The beautiful thing, because we've been everything to everybody, to each other, right? Many lifetimes. So when the soul incarnates as a young soul, when the first soul incarnates, it first just learns to survive in a physical density. So it's concerned about survival. It's only operates on the lower chakras. Then the soul keeps reincarnating and it discovers the second chakra, pleasure. It's in pursuit of pleasure. Anybody you know in your life who is only in pursuit of pleasure, that's their entire life. And they do not have ears to hear anything else. And it's correct for them. That's their lifetime to explore that pleasure really does not lead anywhere if you only seek pleasure. Sensations, right? So a soul incarnates again and again and again, all kind of pleasures. And then there comes a point where soul incarnates and it's ready to experience awakening of the heart. So maybe that lifetime, they're in the pursuit of all things spiritual, right? And then the soul incarnates again. And finally, it is ready for empowerment and ready to find their purpose and give a contribution to the world. But it's lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, you guys. That understanding really helped me let go of this, obsession of helping my relatives to awaken. How arrogant of me. Do I know their evolutionary journey? They are precisely where they needed to be on their evolutionary journey. And the moment I stopped forcing awakening on them, they decided to, search for higher ideals. How beautiful that works. And then there comes a moment on the evolutionary path of the soul that the soul is ready to find the unity with source. And the soul, and you just see, like, soul comes to this world, remembers much more on the deep subconscious level, and that's the time. So every experience is correct. Every experience has its own wisdom, its own love, its own sacredness. And that's what helped me forgive Marianne, darling. That's what helped me forgive my father. And then eventually, because, my father, you guys, has been an alcoholic all his life. And once again, when I was in my rescue archetype, I could not see the perfection of his path. All I saw is imperfection of his path. And it created separation between us. It didn't help intimacy. It was a big wound between my father and I. And eventually my eyes got opened to see and to respect his soul for choosing his experience. And I let go. And when I saw it, I reached the level of understanding from the higher perspective. And the forgiveness was not necessary anymore. There was only harmony restored. What a freedom. Sandy Ryan says, Exactly. We'll let their souls have the experience and why they came. Such a lesson of freedom. That's it, darlings. That's it. We're beautiful. Yeah, Marianne says, thank you so much. The person who betrayed the alcoholic. Yes, darling. And with addiction, it is such a strong archetype, right? When somebody is locked in an addiction. Maybe one day I'll share with you a story how I got an experience of that so deeply. And I opened my heart through big, big compassion. Thank you for your exquisite presence. For those of you guys who are going to watch the replay, this was a powerful time together, right? We explored some incredible understandings of life. So thank you for the gift of your presence, and so grateful for you guys. Couple announcements. I am hosting one-day intensives in Laguna Beach. At the end of June, we're going to journey with the Gene Keys, darlings. It's been on my heart so long to create. I'm all about really condensing. How can I take one day and create an experience that it's a day that changes everything? I know it's a big statement, but this is the power of the transmission that we call the Gene Keys. It's a really, really beautiful journey, you guys. So you can see the link on my wall, or I will share it again in the days to come. But it's going to be an intimate group, and we're going to spend entire day learning the wisdom of this transmission. And it's a great path of awakening, very grounded, very practical wisdom that can support you in any part of your life. So if it calls you, either reach out to me and I'll send you a link for more information. I love you so much, darlings. Good night. Enjoy, integrate, and I will see you sometime soon. Trust everything in your life. It has a right to exist. If it shows up, it has a gift, it has a blessing, it has a message. Life is kind. You can trust your experience. And I love you. Thank you.